All right. So, can anybody just in a nutshell explain how what makes dimensional analysis work? Like, why is it okay mathematically? What do you do, and what do you think, Ken?
Because all the units cancel out.
All the units cancel out, so that's one way to look at it. But basically, you're multiplying a bunch of things by other things, right? And if you multiply a bunch of things by other things, in this case, my proposal is it doesn't change anything. You're not actually changing the value of what you're multiplying. I wrote myself some notes. I did this earlier and wrote myself some notes so I can go in what I think is a sensible direction. But basically, we're multiplying by 1. So I'm going to write a bunch of things that can be 1 depending on how you make the fraction. So if a mile is 5,280 feet, then I can write 1 mile divided by 5,280 feet. And that equals 1, because a mile is 5,280 feet. And I can also write it as 5,280 feet divided by 1 mile. And it's still 1, because they're the same thing. So you can multiply anything you want by this or by this, and you're just multiplying by 1. So you don't actually change the thing at all, but you get different units. So the goal is to take these proportions, this much distance is equivalent to this much distance, and you can set it up as a fraction with this in the numerator or with this in the numerator. And if you do it right, you can get, in the end, your things to cancel out. You get the right unit. So I'm just going to write a few things that I used in here, and they're way shorter steps to do this. But 1 minute is how many seconds? 60 seconds. I went through all these steps, even though some of you probably could remember just how many seconds are in an hour. You'll know that by the end of the year. 3,600. So, and then there's 1 hour is how many seconds? 360. Or sorry, how many minutes? I mean, 60 minutes. And 1 day is 24 hours. So that kind of takes, that bridges all the times that we have to deal with. But then there's some other information and deciding how to write this down. So according to this, 1 inch of student is equivalent to what? 2.07 pounds of student. And I'm just going to write of student, but I could kind of have 1 inch, 2.07 pounds. I'm just trying to stay organized. And this is reminding me of a weight of a part of a student and the ratio of how tall they are. So if you're 60 inches tall, each of those 60 inches would be 2.07 pounds if you're average. And then there's the rate at which students are coming in. So 1 second of I'm going to call it student entry. Students entering for 1 second is equivalent to 54 pounds of student. The only other thing that I needed on here was, 1 mile is 5,280 feet, and 1 foot is how many inches? 12 inches. Now, those are all the things I'm starting with, and those are all the things I'm going to turn into fractions and put one of them on the top and one on the bottom and multiply them together. Deciding where to go in the beginning for this kind of problem, that's really the hardest part. And basically, I want to answer this question. 3 miles of student. Students lying together with the length 3 miles equals how many days? So I'm trying to get that. So really the thing that would be helpful here, the answer that I'm looking for in the end is going to be days. But if I can just find the proportions, if I can find the miles of student, per day, then once I do that, this is pretty easy. So if it turns out that I can take this information and I can find the missing thing there, or I could do days per mile per student, whatever. I just decided to do it that way. So you can start in different places, but I wanted length on top, basically. So I decided to start with one of these things that was length and put it on top. So I started with this one, 1 inch student. I'll write 1 inch. I'm just going to write 1 inch instead of the student thing. Divided by 2.07 pounds. So these are equivalent. One inch section of a student should be about 2.07 pounds. So right now I've got something that's 1. And when I'm all done, I'm going to get another fraction that's basically 1. I'm going to find out how many miles of students are equal to how many days. So I want to get to, I've got inches, I want to get to miles. So what's the little bridge that I go across first? To get from inches to miles, I can't go directly. I don't know how many inches are in a mile.
Feet to miles.
I can go to feet. So instead of like inches per pound, I want to get to feet per pound. And to do that, I'm going to use this. And I want feet, so this needs to go on top. And I don't want inches, so that needs to go on the bottom. So I'm just multiplying by 1, and the inches cancel out. But now I've got feet per pounds. So instead of feet, I want miles. So do I multiply this by a fraction with 5,280 on the top or 1 on the top? Which one's going to cancel out feet and give me miles? 1 on the top. 1 on the top. So I want to have miles in the end. 1 mile, 5,280 feet. And again, since these are the same numbers, I'm just multiplying everything by 1, so I haven't really changed anything, just the unit. So I've got miles per pound right now, so the top's good. Now I just need to get from pounds to days. See anything that'll help there? Yeah.
1 second student is equals 554.
Yeah, so that'll give me the seconds. So I'm going to multiply by that. And instead of pounds down here, I want seconds. So do I multiply by 1 over 54 or 54 over 1? Right. Since I want to have seconds on the bottom, I put this one on the bottom. 1 second is 54 pounds. Pounds cancel out, and I've got miles per second. Let's do kind of a shortcut. I want to go right to miles per hour. So how many seconds are in an hour?
3,600.
3,600. So I'm multiplying by 3,600 or dividing by 3,600? But I want hours down here. So the ratio is 1 hour is equal to 3,600 seconds. So seconds cancels out. And then last thing I need to do is what? Yeah, multiply by the number of days. So 1 day. Oh, no, not that way because it won't cancel. 24 hours. Okay, so again, these are equal. I'm just multiplying by 1. I haven't changed anything. But now I have miles per day. And I can just multiply everything across the top and divide by everything. I'm ashamed of myself. You see what I did? Let me use this. Bad role model. All right. So 1 times 1 times 1 times 54 times 3,600 times 24 divided by 2.07 divided by 12 divided by 5,280 equals. So I get 35.57. I'm just going to call it 35.6 miles of student per day. That's my ratio. So miles of student per for 1 day. So 1 day of students coming in the door gives me 35.6 miles. And now I want to get this. I want to take 3 miles of student and I want to get days. So 3 miles. Do I multiply that by 35.6 over 1 or 1 over 35.6? 1 over 35.6. This is the miles of student, and this is day. So, quick shortcut that I use a lot. I've already got 35.6 on my calculator. I want to divide 3 by 35.6. So instead of kind of redoing things, what's a quick step? Quick way to divide.
3 divided by.
But I don't want to type 3 divided by, because I'd have to sort of clear this and then use the answer. I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm just going to do times. Oops, sorry. Shouldn't have done that. I should have just hit the reciprocal key.
You can do delete.
I'm not used to these calculators. But if you just take the reciprocal of 35.6, multiply it by 3, then you don't have to go through the steps of clear it. 33 divided by 35.6. So it's 0.084. Now, on the first test, I'm not going to give you one that's this involved. This is not only that whole process of deciding which way to flip things and then cancel it out. It's a little more complicated than that. So, if you, this is where I have to stop making